I found an interesting article on the web written March 12, 2012. And it's a very interesting article. I'll just read it to you. A few weeks ago on a Saturday afternoon, an email came in from an acquaintance who comes into contact with most Korean-related content on the web and then disseminates it via his blog. He had just gotten, he wrote, the oddest call from a man convinced that he was about to be arrested for uncovering a human trafficking illegal teacher scam. Perhaps I'd be interested in contacting the individual. By now you should guess who this individual is, was the suggestion with contact details. This began what has been a bizarre and frustrating process of trying to get to the bottom of the story. Can't imagine that. After doing some cursory research on the individual, I called him. What followed was a manic 66-minute monologue as he explained his allegations against an English village on, I don't know how to pronounce it, Jeju Island, that had left him out of several $1,000s in pay in a scheme that stretched back at least 6 years and included some 60 other bereft teachers whose names are on a list at the Korean Labor Ministry. Human trafficking, fraud, foreign child labor, neglect, and abuse were among the allegations mentioned during the call, with numerous references to specific incidents that evidence in his possession allegedly supports. Moreover, the individual believed that the Korean cyber police would be taking him into custody at any moment and that the evidence he had in his possession and posted online would be compromised and potentially destroyed. Thus, the evidence needed to be secured and then put to the public's attention. Research before the call led to news articles in the Korean press that detailed the same charges and showed pictures of the individual at the airport with a sign advising passers-by of the transgressions. The individual, you know who, had been charged with defamation, he said, for posting a picture online that showed potential sexual abuse by individuals involved with the English village. It's unclear how the airport protest was received given the all-encompassing defamation laws on the peninsula. A later look at the individual's website revealed numerous posts detailing the crimes committed at the village and images of the village's owner and others, all dangerous in the defamation domain. That site, as the individual predicted at the time, was censored less than a week later and all of the content rendered useless. Yet the information had been successfully passed on to others and has been posted on a U.S. website by a 2006 victim who came to teach at a summer camp and ended up working a month of 12 or more hour days and going home without a cent. The conditions were terrible for teachers, says Mazarine Trey's, I don't know how to pronounce it, now 33 and living in Texas. We worked insane hours. I bent over backward. There was no food. It's still hard to talk about now. Trey's went on to say that the behavior of managers was disturbing. I couldn't believe the yelling. There were times when they would just scream at us as loud as you can imagine, just yell at us for nothing. And it goes on, this lady is basically saying that this place is horrible, it's nefarious. I'll skip down to this part. The individual who contacted me in a panic portrayed the same conduct by authorities as Gelkin did in his article. Don't know what that means by authorities, saying they'd been turned one by one and failed to take any action despite reams of evidence and repeated reports of abuse and unpaid wages. Another teacher contacted, Jim Cuthbert, 32, said his documents had been fraudulently altered by the managers at the business. They stamped our passports and changed our contracts, said Cuthbert, a British national. Cuthbert also confirmed the conditions at the camp. The food was awful, and so was the AC. They didn't deliver on anything, said Cuthbert, and they didn't pay anyone, foreign or native.
교교사 안 좋아요 and activity 준비 안 했어요. We are sorry to the parents that it was so badly organized.
The individual, who is now on a crusade to expose the village, I wonder who that could be, went on to say, His attempts to get the other Korean English dailies to cover the story had failed. So much for my Australian accent. The Korea Herald and the Times will not cover this, he said. He asserted that evidence proved the executives at the Korea Herald were involved with the owner at the village and had actually presented him with an award after the Herald ran the critical article. A picture posted on his website showed such a ceremony, but independent verification of the identities of individuals has proved difficult and dangerous. And this is an interesting part. In a discussion with Herald reporter Paul Carey, it was clear that the paper wanted nothing to do with the story for a number of reasons. We can't go on what was brought to us by insert you-know-whose name because it's not reliable, said Carey, referring to the information that was presented and the questionable background of the individual, which includes legal issues outside Korea. Additionally, Carey said the paper doesn't have the manpower to cover such a sensitive and complicated story. We don't have the resources to cover a story like this, said Carey. We can't send people down to Jeju to investigate. Carey added that the story is old and has been covered, which makes it hard to sell to editors. In response to the allegations made about the Herald's connection to the village's owner, Carey explained that the Herald had never presented the business owner with any award. The Herald business gave him an award. Herald business is owned by Herald Media, which has our CEO. The Korea Herald does not have a CEO. We're just a smaller part of the same company as the Herald business, Carey said. So that's about it. You can read all of it if you want, but that's really the pertinent issues. So it seems that our friend, you-know-who, has been in trouble and causing trouble and harassing people for many years. So very interesting.